Choosing a sales job is probably the most difficult decision you have to make as a sales rep. And it's often the decision that determines how much success you actually have and how much money you're able to make. And throughout the last 2 years, I've worked with over 300 sales reps, all with different levels of experience. Some just getting started, some have been in the industry 5+ years, and all of which have been selling in different industries and different niches to start out. You know, many of them were pretty good at sales to begin with, but they still had the same problem. They were unhappy with their earning potential, their career progression, or their career trajectory, given the amount of hours they're putting in. And you know, there are thousands of potential sales jobs out there, but with working with over 300 sales reps, we've kind of found a few key elements that you really need to consider before you jump into any role to make sure you're making the most commission, you've got the best career trajectory, and you're not burning the wick at both ends and getting burnt out after only a year. So let me show you what we've taught them and what we found out. So the most obvious thing you need to consider when looking for a high-paying sales job is the industry. Ultimately boils down to what you're going to be selling. And there's many different industries you can go into and an endless list of product and services to sell. This can vary from supercars, private jets, real estate, service-based businesses like marketing, education, software sales, door-to-door sales, selling solar, Girl Scout cookies, or any other product that has a price and needs some form of human interaction to be sold. However, not all sales jobs are created equal, and you want to make sure you pick the right industry to stand a chance of making any serious money. So, you know, the most important thing to consider when looking for an industry to sell in is whether it's growing and at what rate. And what you essentially want to do is follow the trail of money. And you must have heard the saying before, where money flows, opportunity grows. Sales as an industry has been around forever. And as time goes on, industries have peaks and go to die. And the goal is to really be in an industry that's on that uptrend. So, you know, 10 to 20 years ago, you might have considered car sales to be a thriving industry, or real estate. With the current economic conditions, interest rates, Elon driving down car prices, these aren't the most favorable industries to look into. So some of the most profitable and highest paying sales jobs right now can be found in industries like tech, software, for more traditional and corporate roles, or selling in industries where the economy or market conditions don't affect demand, such as supercars, private jets, or other luxury products and services. And if you've seen some of my content before, you know I'd recommend looking at the industry of high ticket closing, where you're going to be working for online, service-based, or info product businesses, which is experiencing massive growth as more and more companies and individuals move more and more into the digital world. So the main thing to really consider when looking for a new sales job is making sure you are in a growing market. But it's also worth mentioning 2 other factors to consider when picking amongst growing industries. The first of which being the barrier to entry. You know, a lot of high paying sales roles and industries may require years and years of industry experience, and the career trajectory to earn a significant amount of money may be years. One example of this might be supercars. You know, to sell supercars for a living and to make a solid amount of commission, you might have to start selling Toyotas. The barrier to entry is higher because of the in-industry experience needed, and therefore the career trajectory might be a lot longer. And in comparison, for working for online digital companies, where they predominantly look at the skill set of sales itself and the ability to sell over just a piece of paper with the amount of employees you've had before. You know, one example of this would be a guy we've coached inside our coaching program, Club Closer, Cameron. He used to work door-to-door sales, and in his own words, he said he wasn't even very good at it. You know, he transitioned into the online space and started working for a consultant. From the last time I spoke to him, he was averaging 6K a month, which is 3x what he used to make knocking doors 6 months or so ago. So it's really important to pick an industry that is growing, but also allows for a lower barrier to entry, which obviously is going to depend on your sales experience and the career trajectory to get to those higher paying roles. And this next one may seem obvious, but it's worth mentioning, and it's location. The job opportunities you have are very much going to depend on where you live. You know, if you're working a more traditional sales job that isn't fully remote, still requires time in the office, then of course your job options are going to be very dependent on their locality. And if you're not living in a major city, like here in London, the options you have are going to be significantly smaller than if you were to live in a much smaller town in the middle of nowhere, and you're actually handicapping yourself and your income. And this means that if you want to be hired by the highest paying corporate sales jobs like the big techs or S&P 500 companies, you're going to have to consider relocating to a major city where they likely have offices. But it's worth mentioning that yes, you might earn more, but your living costs are going to significantly increase, and you might even be in an area that you don't even like, and your quality of life might decrease despite these bigger paychecks. So with that in mind, I would highly recommend looking for 100% remote sales roles, so your location doesn't actually matter. And with the companies being remote and the team being global, you can relocate to Bali or South Africa, if that's your thing, and your pounds and dollars are going to go much further, or just stay in a town without crazy rents and house prices. And then the only handicap you're going to have would be time zones, which obviously you can work around. So the third element to really consider when looking for a high paying sales role is the actual sales process itself of the company and your exact role in it. And what I mean by this is, what is the process a lead has to take to actually be made aware of the product or service, show interest in it, and go ahead and buy it, and what part you actually play as a sales rep in that process. And I'll give an example here. So with door-to-door sales, your job is a full 360-degree sales process, from knocking on the door, making the person answer it, making them be aware of what you're selling, then seeing if they're interested, to then actually selling it to them. And that's the same with a lot of traditional sales jobs. It's your job to actually prospect, find leads to sell to, and educate them on the product all before selling it. Which, if you think about it, it's not the best use of your time if your skill is actually selling itself. And especially if your pay is mostly commission, which I'm gonna come on to, you want to be spending as much time selling as possible, because that's gonna make up your paycheck and will allow you to earn more. So with that in mind, you want to find a role that has you selling as much as possible, instead of doing hundreds of admin tasks, marketing tasks, prospecting, cold calling, door knocking, or sending out thousands of cold emails. A good high-paying sales role will have a team under you who are taking care of the lead generation systems and filling your calendar with warm inbound leads that are primed to buy. These are known as SDRs or appointment setters, and they're the ones doing the groundwork, getting the sales calls booked into your calendar, where then you'll jump on these calls with the sole goal of selling these prospects. And therefore the bulk of your work is doing what you're actually getting paid for, and of course what you're good at. So really make sure you're vetting these job opportunities you're looking at to make sure you're not going to be spending hundreds of hours on lead generation or sending out hundreds of emails a day just to get one sales call. A good example of a role like this is, again, a high ticket closer. A lot of online business owners recognize that the most productive use of a good sales rep's time is selling. Therefore, they'll have solid marketing systems in place and a team of appointment setters or SDRs to warm and prime those leads for the closer to come in and make the sale. So a closer's day-to-day is simply hopping on calls with educated prospects, making sure they're a good fit to buy from, and of course, following up and managing their OCRM, because if you're in sales, a lot of money is made in the follow-up. So to find the highest paying sales roles, you want to make sure the job spec and the day-to-day task is actually selling and spending time speaking to interested clients. So the question you really want to ask yourself is, what does this job actually entail? 360-degree sales, or just focusing on selling? Because that's the only part of your job you're getting paid for. You want to make sure you're doubling down on that. You want to find a role that is focusing just on the skill alone and all the other stuff that isn't as high leverage. So the last thing I want to touch on here is pay, because let's be honest, you're probably looking for a sales job that pays you over 6 figures a year in income, but most sales jobs are going to have you capped on a mostly salary basis with a lower commission structure, or they're going to look to incentivize you as a whole team. It's great for the company, but not great for you if you're, shooting for more and the team is happy with mediocre results and a mediocre life. But to cut to the chase here, you want to be looking for a role that is paid mostly in commission, which might sound scary, especially if you don't think you're good at selling, but it leaves you with infinite upside. And if you are good at sales and you're with a good company and all the other categories you spoke about in this video check out, you're going to be making a lot more money. And you're getting to eat what you kill. And you're 100% responsible for your own paycheck each month, which is going to allow you to grow it much more if you're hungry enough for it. And to tie this into the above sections of the video, if you're working in a growing industry with a great sales process, there's nothing stopping you from solely focusing on taking sales calls all day and working that commission check higher and higher each month. Just like a lot of the guys you coach in the online space as high ticket closers, the industry standard commission is 10% of the sale value. So with them, they're selling a 5 to 10K a month product and they're making $500 to $1,000 for each sale they make. And if we take one of our students, Jordan, for example, he went from working his ass off in car sales, where he's still making a decent income, but he was able to match it and more by switching to remote high ticket sales and buying back a lot of his time and opening up a lot more opportunities for continuing to increase that commission month on month. So if you're currently on the hunt for a sales job, I highly recommend you look for one with a very strong commission structure that is solely based on your performance. So now you have a good checklist of what to look for when searching the market for a sales position that actually pays you good money and hopefully helps you crack your first 10K month or rapidly surpass it. But the thing is, with all the information you just learned, it doesn't really matter and can't really help if you don't know the critical steps on how to approach position the right way and land that high paying sales position you've just found. But the good news is I have a video right here that's going to teach you all those things and stop you making some of the biggest mistakes when approaching your dream sales position. But if you like this video, please drop a subscribe, drop a like, and I will see you in the next one.